So I've been playing Wuthering Waves for a while now, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of disappointed. Yeah, time to take your meds, grandpa, but hear me out. On one hand, I get it. I can accept that maybe I'm not the intended audience. I don't need every game to be for me, and that's fine. On the other hand, and I genuinely believe this, I don't think that the most grating aspects in Wuthering Waves were made for anyone. Now, before we move on, I think I need to establish where I stand in relation to gacha as a genre first, because I think this matters. I believe that gacha is a net negative for society, and they aren't customer friendly. Like, I realize a lot of people like them because they're technically free to play and it feels good to gamble and, you know, boobs, but there's a ton of design considerations that when you try to mash together a game with a cash shop while pretending it's an intricate economy when it's really an intentionally poor economy made to sell you solutions, the two concepts are seeking wildly different outcomes and they often end up cannibalizing each other, usually in the favor of the cash shop. The other aspect is that I think it's going to be a problem. I have some family in China, so I go there fairly regularly. One thing I'm noticing is that there are tons of gacha shops. Like, I mean, the majority of toy shops are gacha collectibles and they are really popular. I think it's really weird that a country that doesn't allow gambling has 6-year-olds asking their parents for gamba before they can even grasp the concept of what money is and how their relationship with money will affect the rest of their life. And yeah, well, that's China, but I think it will make its way here too as the line blurs because it's just too profitable not to do it. Now wait. Before you lose interest, I think it's important to note that while I believe that gacha is a net negative, I never said I was a saint, and I'm not a kid. So while I hold this ideal, I play quite a few gacha games because, well, frankly, I've been outvoted. No one is going to see me bearing this cross by abstaining and not enjoying things, so why? Like, why would I punish myself for something that is futile? So what gacha games do I play? Well, I've never played Genshin Impact, so you don't have to worry about my sunk cost fallacy stepping in to say that Wuthering Waves is garbage because I have a real life relationship with Hu Tao. I've tried Tower of Fantasy, a little bit of Arknight, a bit of Honkai Impact 3rd, Honkai Star Rail, Punishing Grey Raven, Nikke Goddess of Victory, and Azur Lane. I'd say that my majors are in Nikke and Azur Lane, but I say that with a bit of hesitation because I am literally the worst kind of gacha player. A PC player. No, but really, I don't take them very seriously. I tend to just go for the characters that look cool. If I don't get that character, then I move on with my life, and so be it. I don't think that doing well in a gacha game is a real achievement, because 99% of the difficulty is locked in the stats, and the stats are gated by money, or time, or both. So yeah, basically, I think it's dumb. But I don't think it's dumb to enjoy playing the games, or to collect cool characters for their amazing personalities. So that's what I do. I also like the stories in a lot of gacha games, but we'll get to that. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Wuthering Waves and why it's disappointing. But first, I'd like to open with a bit of a compliment sandwich. I like looking at Wuthering Waves. I downloaded the game because of how it looks. There are so many scenes that are picture perfect. I mean, look at this. Look at him. Look at her. This is a beautiful game. I think that perhaps you could say that it lacks uniqueness, but it's definitely pretty. The other aspect that is cool is the combat. It's definitely basic mechanically, but it looks nice and it feels nice. It's easy and somewhat rewarding. I actually like the voice acting. I'm cheating a bit because I played the game in Chinese. Like, it's a valid complaint that the English voice acting isn't very good, but guys, you know this. We've been watching anime in Japanese for years at this point. It should be obvious that developers prioritize the quality of their spoken language first, and then their largest audience, yada 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 yada. Anyways, the voice acting was decent, and Scar was amazing, but overall, I struggled to find the fun. Now, I want to caveat here, this is not unique to Wuthering Waves, but it is unique to every gacha that borrows heavily from Genshin Impact. It's not any different in Tower of Fantasy or Honkai Star Rail, in my opinion. So here it is. When do I get to play the game? I dread seeing NPCs in Wuthering Waves because I'm scared that they're going to start talking. And once they start talking, they're not going to stop. Like, they are going to tell me why they are there, where they come from, how they are feeling, and what they want from me. And then I'm going to ask them a simple question, and they're going to start a mental flow of the current situation, finally ending in a conclusion, and you're like, cool, okay, got it. gotta kill some bears, and they start talking again about how they feel about the bears and what killing the bears might mean for the ecology of Jinzhou. And then you leave, and they pause for a bit, and then they start talking to a mysterious figure in the shadows about how the bears were stopping them from stealing bird eggs. Now, I know what you're thinking, the whole game is like this and you can skip all of it if you want. It doesn't matter, and yeah, I could skip it, but I do like the story, and sometimes the story is really good. It's really good when you see Scar for the first time. But guess what? Before you get to the game's first real story hook, you have to do the intro, which is a fine intro. You find out that you're special. Who cares? You knew that within the first 5 seconds, but the game isn't going to let you forget it because every NPC has it calendarized so they can remind you at 5-minute intervals. You then need to travel through the grassy knolls and catch some Pokemon, which is fine. We're still in the tutorial. Except remember this, in this whole tutorial process, you've only touched your controller for a quarter of it because you're going to talk to 3 characters, and every time something vaguely happens, you bet there's going to be a conversation about it. So we get to the city, and instead of meeting the person we need to meet, we have to solve puzzles. Like, I'm not sure if you realize this, but I'm carrying a samurai sword and I want to use it. Now don't worry, we are going to get to that, but first we need to meet the same 3 characters from the intro again, along with more characters that will add more conversations, and they are going to just lore dump with all the made up names of things in the world of Wuthering Waves, and you can't care about it. No matter how much you want to care about how these people live, the game does not give you the opportunity to parse it in a way that doesn't feel like a chore. And that's a real shame because it looks cool and I want to live there. At this point, you could have already been playing this game for over an hour. Let that sink in. Between the first 10 minutes when you learn that you're special up until the point where the main quest takes you out of the city, it has probably been an hour. And if you're lucky, you got a solid 15 minutes with your sword. That's the best part of the game, by the way. The part that you haven't been doing for 45 minutes at this point. I need to add this, I like the companions that you get at the beginning of the game. They are okay, but this is the same in Honkai Star Rail, and I'm guessing it stems from Genshin, but the game is so obsessed with maintaining a certain elegance with their female characters that they struggle to come across like anything more than perfect followers for a queen bee. Believing that they are interesting is like unironically believing that red M&Ms taste different to blue M&Ms. Their personality is their job, their clothes, and their hair color 90% of the time. If you met them in real life, you would be disappointed. That's a huge problem because you spend a lot of time listening to them trying to prove how much they like you. Because yes, the voice acting for Scar and the fact that his presence signifies that the story is actually going somewhere makes him stand out as a character, but it's also because he's not there to kiss your ass. Well, I mean, sort of. He's kind of there to kiss your ass and tell you you're special, but at least he's doing it in a way that's stemming from what reads like a personal principle rather than an innate pre-programmed power of friendship. Meanwhile, if you ask your companions why they're being so nice, it's always, oh, everyone in Jinzhou is like this. It's just hospitality. No, you're lying to me. You are fake. I want to join the other side. Like I'm waiting for Yang Yang to start killing children in broad daylight when she realizes that she won't be my best friend. Don't get me wrong, I think people go a little overboard in hating tropes. There's nothing wrong with the power of friendship narrative, but the weird levels of respect don't feel like they're real or that they matter because you don't really do anything to earn it. I want to stress that while I'm talking about Wuthering Waves, this is a problem that I believe comes from Genshin Impact and has been galvanized as part of the formula that gets carried over by every attempt to imitate it. Because it's not in other gacha games that aren't trying to copy it. For example, Nikke has a much wider range of personality types with companions. Heck, Azur Lane characters are more varied in personality and they say 4 to 5 lines of dialogue in total. So let's put it together. Your companions talk far past the point of what is needed to convey the plot and the next step, yet fail to add anything of relevance about their own character. You don't really learn about your companions, you are simply learning how much your companions like you. You aren't allowed to freely play the game until you've talked to everyone and their grandmother, and the result is that in the early hours, you aren't interacting with the best aspect of the game, and where the story does shine, it is gatekept by regular small talk bludgeoning and overly verbose lore dumping. 20 to 30 minutes, that's how long it should take you to get to the village with all of the main quest dialogue. The fact that people are praising Wuthering Waves for having a skip button as this major win over Genshin Impact is the real issue going straight over the heads of people that I believe have just given up and have simply accepted bad design as the norm. Why though? You can't even say that all gacha games are like this. And at this point, I'm realizing that I've seen this all before. World of Warcraft had exactly the same effect on MMOs. Every new MMO was the WoW killer, and every time you would be playing a new MMO and you asked, hey, why is this annoying thing in the game? There was just this chorus. It's how it is in World of Warcraft, and World of Warcraft is the biggest MMO. There's some merit to the idea. Outright cloning a proven model is a really good starting point. But let's be real, we've been down this road and where does it lead? Which WoW killer killed WoW? WoW killed WoW, or at least it's having a go at it. Every boomer and his blow-up girlfriend is waiting for the next MMO rebirth, but it's already happened. Genshin Impact is WoW's replacement, you just weren't invited. It stole its spotlight, it eclipsed its community, and it destroyed its relevance. No one ever said that WoW's replacement was going to be an MMO, but anyways, another video for another time. What's important is that we are not learning from past mistakes. We are completely ignoring the first mover's advantage and the inherent sunk cost that is embedded in the player base. You can't copy that. So if you want to compete, you genuinely have to be a lot better in most metrics for it to matter long term. And even if you are, you probably don't have the bank to compete with any sort of retaliation. Like what? You think Hoyoverse is just going to sit back and do nothing? What am I getting at here? Well, if you're going to copy Genshin, you probably shouldn't copy their mistakes. And I go a step further, you should probably focus on what you already do well. Kuro Games already has the best hack and slash combat system in all of gacha. The ping system in Punishing Grey Raven is really engaging, it feels good to play, it's responsive and visceral. So imagine my disappointment when I opened Wuthering Waves and it's a similar combat system but less. It's nice that they added a parry mechanic, but why? Why would you not iterate on the best action combat system in gacha? I just want to stress this. I think the combat system in Wuthering Waves is enjoyable. I think it's fun to engage with, but I'll be honest, it kind of just makes me want to log off and log into Punishing Grey Raven. It just serves like this constant reminder of, hey, you could be playing a better version of this. And I know what you're thinking, this is for accessibility reasons, but what kind of rock bottom are you trying to access exactly? Gacha games are already mechanically basic. I beat this boss on my first try while looking at my wife's phone and discussing her day. I got hit by most of the boss attacks and I still won. These games are already way easier than the average action video game. The only real tangible difficulty comes from trying to overcome the monetization systems. So what's the big deal? It's almost like the devs are worried that if the gameplay is too engaging, it might cut into the dopamine hit of pulling for new characters. So let's wrap this all up. At the end of the day, I'm disappointed because Wuthering Waves is good. Like, that's really it. I wouldn't care if it was garbage. There's genuinely something there that is special, but I don't understand why these devs are making the same mistakes as devs from way back in 2007. You want to iterate on the Genshin formula? Great. Do that, but please stop copying their mistakes and diminishing what you are already good at to fit in their mold. Anyways, I'm really interested to hear what you guys think in the comments. If you're playing Wuthering Waves, let me know what your experience has been. Catch you next time.